Welcome to the Childcare Director's Chair, the podcast for bold educators who are ready to lead, grow, and shake things up in early childhood education. Whether you're a teacher eyeing that lead role, a lead stepping into leadership, or a center owner dreaming big, this is your space to grow with purpose and leave your mark. Hosted by heart-centered leadership coach Erica Saccoccio, each episode brings you real talk, actionable tools, and a contagious laugh or two, all designed to help you step into your next level with confidence. So pour your coffee, pop in those earbuds, and take your seat, because your leadership journey starts right now in the Childcare Director's Chair.
Hello and welcome back to the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. It's your girl, Erica Saccoccio, and let's get this week started. It is a happy Monday. I hope your weekend was great. It was beautiful here in Rhode Island, sunny, warm, and I got to spend some time with my family, which was so important and so amazingly fun. I wanted to also say shout out to our listeners, no matter where you're listening from. We love you, but here's a shout out to some of our folks who tuned in on Friday. Ashbourne, Virginia, Austin, Texas, Pittsfield, Massachusetts, Virginia Beach, Virginia, Boston, Massachusetts, Concord, New Hampshire, Portland, Connecticut, and so many more. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate you. I got to ask you a question as we get started in this beautiful Monday. Have you ever walked out of a leadership meeting, maybe listened to a podcast, or attended a conference? Perhaps even scrolled through social media, or sat through a training and thought, maybe I should lead like that person. Maybe I need to be more outgoing. Maybe I need to be tougher. Maybe I need to be louder. You know, the early childhood profession is one of the noisiest industries in the world. And not for the reason you think. It's not the children. It's because of the opinions. Everyone has a leadership philosophy. Everyone has advice. Everyone has a strategy. Everyone has a book recommendation. Everyone has a strong opinion about how directors should communicate, motivate staff, solve problems, handle conflicts, and build culture. And somewhere along the way, many leaders stopped listening to themselves. Instead of developing their voice, they stopped borrowing from everyone else's. And today we're going to talk about finding your leadership voice in a very noisy industry. Not your social media voice, not your conference presentation voice, not your I have to sound professional voice, but your leadership voice, the one that creates trust, that inspires action, the one that helps people follow you because they believe in you, not because they fear you. And if you've ever felt that pressure, you ever been hesitant or reserved, or like you're constantly second-guessing yourself, well, this episode's for you. Because confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. So let's dive in. One of the biggest challenges I see among childcare directors is that they confuse confidence with personality. They assume that confident leaders are naturally outgoing. And they think confidence means the loudest person in the room. And they believe confidence means having the answers to everything. And that's not leadership confidence. Leadership confidence is clarity. It's knowing who you are, it's knowing what you stand for, and it's knowing what matters most. And you have to be willing to communicate that consistently. The most respected leaders I've met aren't always the most charismatic, but they are certainly the most clear. Their teams know what they value, their teams know what they expect, and their teams know where they're heading. And that clarity creates confidence. Confusion creates hesitation, and many directors are leading from confusion. They're trying to please everyone, and of course, they're trying to avoid conflict, and they're trying to keep the staff happy. They're trying to keep the parents happy. They're trying to keep licensing happy, and they're trying to keep ownership happy. They're trying to keep everyone comfortable. And when you're trying to satisfy everyone, your leadership voice disappears. You become reactive instead of intentional. So, how do we change that? Well, let's talk about 3 practical strategies that you can use right now to get your voice heard and move all of the nonsense out of the way. First is you have to define your leadership standards before you need them. Most leaders don't struggle to communicate. They struggle to communicate under pressure. Think about it. When a teacher is upset, when a parent complains, or the enrollment drops, or when staffing is short. Usually when a conflict erupts. That's when uncertainty shows up. Why? Well, because most leaders have never clearly defined their leadership standards. They know what they don't want, but they haven't articulated what they do want. And I challenge you to create what I call a leadership compass. Write down the answers to these questions. What behaviors do I value most? What kind of culture am I trying to build? What am I willing to tolerate? And what am I unwilling to tolerate? How do I want people to feel when they work with me? And how do I want families to describe our program? How do I want staff to describe my leadership? And when you answer these questions, patterns will emerge. And these patterns will become your leadership standards. And once those standards are clear, communication becomes much easier. Because you're no longer making decisions based on emotions. You're making decisions based on principles. And the most confident leaders don't make fewer decisions. They simply make decisions that go through a filter. Tip number 2, stop borrowing leadership styles and start building leadership language. This is where many directors get stuck. They attend a training, they listen to a podcast, hopefully mine, they read books, they watch speakers, and instead of learning from others, they start copying them. The problem is that borrowed leadership eventually sounds forced. People can feel when you're authentic. And they also feel intimidation. Your team doesn't need another version of someone else. They need the best version of you. So here's an exercise. Over the next 30 days, pay attention to phrases that you naturally say. Notice the messages that you repeat. Notice the stories that you tell. And notice the values that consistently show up in your conversations. These recurring themes are clues to your leadership language. Maybe you're constantly talking about relationships. Maybe you're constantly discussing accountability. Maybe you're focused on growth. Or perhaps you are passionate about professionalism or being service-driven. These themes become part of your leadership voice, and the strongest leaders create language that reflects their values. And when your language and your values align, people begin associating you with clear leadership identity. And that's when your influence grows. Now, tip number 3 is practice visibility before you feel ready. This might be the most important strategy of all. Many leaders believe confidence comes first and then visibility comes second. But the opposite is true. Visibility creates confidence. You don't become confident and then start speaking. You start speaking and then you become confident. And you don't become confident and then lead meetings. You lead meetings and then become more confident. You share ideas and then you become more confident because growth requires exposure. Start small. You don't have to go all crazy. It could be something so simple like volunteer to facilitate a staff meeting, lead a professional development session, or record a 2-minute leadership video. But just share your perspective during a conference or discussion, or write a reflection for your team. Speak up one more time than you normally would, because every visible action sends a message to your brain. I can do this. Confidence is evidence-based, and the more evidence you create, the more confidence you build. And over time, that once uncomfortable situation becomes so natural. So remember this, Your leadership voice is not discovered overnight. It's developed. It's refined. It's strengthened through experiences. And it's shaped through mistakes. Definitely the mistakes. It's clarified through reflection and growth every time you choose courage over comfort. The childcare profession doesn't need more leaders trying to sound impressive. Gosh knows we don't. It needs more leaders willing to sound authentic, because authentic leadership creates trust. And trust creates influence. And influence creates impact. And impact changes lives, it changes teams, families, and ultimately children's lives. So this week, I want to leave you with one question. If all the noise disappeared tomorrow, what would your leadership voice sound like? Not someone else's, yours. Spend some time reflecting on that, because the moment you stop trying to lead like everyone else is the moment that people stop following you for who you truly are. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Childcare Directors Share podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, please share this episode with another director, owner, emerging leader who is working to build their confidence, speaking, leadership skills, and communication skills. Remember, your voice matters, your perspective matters, and your leadership matters. Until next time, keep leading with purpose, confidence, and impact.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Childcare Director's Chair, where we believe leaders aren't born, they're grown. If something sparked for you today, share it, shout it out, or pass it along to the next bold changemaker in childcare. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with Erica Saccoccio for more real talk leadership tools and a whole lot of inspiration. Until next time, lead with heart, grow with fire, and always remember, the chair is yours. Now own it.